life under the sea is better than anything they got up there.
It may be better and wetter under the sea, but what Sebastian forgot to mention is that it's also full of plot holes down there. For Disney movies, plot holes aren't a huge surprise. They're fairy tales after all. But when it comes to The Little Mermaid, there are just too many unexplained storylines to not notice. You might not have paid any attention to these plot holes when you were younger, but after you watch this video, you won't be able to look at Ariel, Eric, and their sea friends the same way again. Don't worry, The Little Mermaid will always be our nostalgic childhood go-to, but we're poor, unfortunate souls no more. Remember how perfect we all thought the Kiss the Girl scene was? What's more romantic than a prince whisking you away for a private boat ride that ends in a first kiss? For Kid Us, the answer is absolutely nothing. But if you watch that scene today, you might find yourself feeling a little frustrated. At this point, Ariel has no voice and can't tell Eric about her whole Ursula situation. But her friend Sebastian is there and even whispers Ariel's name into Eric's ear. So why couldn't Sebastian just fill in Eric on what was going on? It would have saved a whole lot of time. Continuing on the track of why couldn't Ariel find another way to tell Eric about Ursula, we have plot hole number 2. Why didn't Ariel just write down sentences to communicate with Eric instead of just using hand gestures? You might argue that maybe she didn't learn how to read or write in mermaid school, but she read and wrote when she signed Ursula's contract. This is either a plot hole the writers never considered, or they just really need to carry out the situation until the final matchup at the end of the film. The plot holes don't just surround Ariel either. There's some mystery around Eric and his beginnings. Like, where exactly are his parents? We see him spend his time with his butler and companion Grimm, but we don't ever see anyone else in his family. His title is also still Prince, which means there has to be a king and queen. Maybe it's an Elsa situation where he still hasn't had his coronation? Mermaids are fish, right? So it's interesting that Ariel doesn't find anything wrong with Prince Eric's diet. During their lunch at the palace, she does manage to save Sebastian from becoming a meal, but doesn't have a problem when Grimm and Eric go to town on their meals that also include crabs. It's low-key kind of morbid.
What is this?
We all know how important Disney music is to Disney films, but does a music sequence automatically mean the outside world can't hear them? Because that's exactly what happened in The Little Mermaid. After Ariel saves Eric from drowning, we have the iconic moment where she sings Part of Your World. While he's still passed out for most of it, she's belting out the loudest note ever when he wakes up and gets help from Grimm. So how did he not hear her? It's impossible. We know, love at first sight is a huge deal for Disney stories. But all we're saying is that Ariel and Eric seem to be acting a tad prematurely when it came to basically giving up their lives for one another. Ariel was ready to give up everything she'd ever known to be with him, including her voice. And while yes, she also wanted to be human apart from Eric, she didn't need to get married to him that quick. It's all just a little rushed. The next one might be a little silly, but we still need answers. We all know Disney princesses always look picture perfect, but Ariel must have had something magical going on with her red locks. Despite literally living in the water, her hair was never wet. Never. I mean, not even the best product could last underwater for that long. We have to know her secret. We may never see Eric's parents, but we do see his best friend, his dog Max. Just like Ariel does with Sebastian and Flounder, he uses him as basically his guide and sometimes voice of reason. But there's one major difference between Ariel's pals and Max. He can't speak. Why is that? If all the sea creatures can have conversations with humans, why doesn't the same apply to creatures on land? So many double standards.
Ariel, stop talking crazy.
I gotta see him again.
Ursula is a huge part of The Little Mermaid. There would literally be no story without her. But funnily enough, we literally know nothing about her. What's her backstory? We know she once used to be a part of Atlantica, so why did she leave? Did she get into a fight with King Triton? Or did she leave by herself? Which brings us to our second Ursula plot hole. Why has no one tried to get rid of her yet? Literally everyone treats her as the Voldemort of The Little Mermaid. They even gasp when her name is mentioned. So why hasn't anyone tried to take her down? Is it because she's too powerful? Too scary? Or are they all just extremely lazy? Because we feel that.
That's right.
If you've watched The Little Mermaid, you know there's plenty of ships that meet their end at the bottom of the sea. Ariel even hides her human treasure in one of them. And if you also remember, the ships are pretty, well, Wrecked. So how exactly does Ursula conjure one up from the bottom of the sea and have Eric actually become captain of it? Just seems a little far-fetched, honestly. We get it. Ariel was super fascinated with her feet when she turned human, because, well, that's what was gonna help her walk. But I mean, if you one day turned from a mermaid to a human, we think there would be more than just your feet to find fascinating. Yep, we went there. But are we lying? From the way the entire movie played out, it seemed like mermaids were a complete secret to the humans. Maybe we were wrong? After Ariel and Eric defeat Ursula, the two get married and then sail away. But they don't get far before a crowd of mermaids comes to the surface to bid them farewell. So, did the humans know mermaids existed the entire time? Or did they just decide to reveal themselves because of Ariel? We talked about how Sebastian was able to communicate with Eric in the movie, which means that everyone, human and fish included, speaks English. But is that really accurate? Have you ever tried to speak underwater? Nothing ever clearly comes out. So how was Ariel able to learn proper English under the sea? Magic?
Nothing happened.
Oh, Ariel.
Although she's a mermaid, Ariel is the size of your average human. Well, apparently she doesn't weigh the same as an average human though. After Ursula turns Ariel into a human, she starts to drown. Naturally. So in order to save her, Sebastian and Flounder hook onto her and swim her up to the surface of the water. I don't know about you, but we're pretty sure a fish would never be able to save us from drowning. Ariel's contract with Ursula was basically a ticking time bomb. She had to have true love's kiss in 3 days or else she'd stay a mermaid and belong to the Sea Witch forever. So, why didn't she just try a tad harder to kiss Eric? Maybe she wanted to set the mood, but not everything is a fairy tale, Ariel. It definitely would have saved her a lot of pining. Remember when Ursula and Eric almost happened? What a wild time! Eric literally decided to marry her the same day he met her, and everyone was just like, okay. This may be a movie about a talking fish, but that literally makes no sense. Wouldn't Grimm have questioned his choices even a little bit? To finish this plot hole sequence off, there are just a few things that don't add up in Ariel's ocean life. The first being all the sun they get at the bottom of the ocean. I mean, they could literally tan. Shouldn't the bottom of the ocean be pitch black? And finally, they must have some super special paper under the water because whenever it pops up, it's not the soggy mess you'd expect it to be. Call us Disney trash, but we still love The Little Mermaid just as much as we did before. That's the beauty of Disney, plot holes and all. Have you noticed any more fishy storylines in the film? Which plot hole was the most shocking? Don't forget to drop all your thoughts in the comment section below. We hope you'll hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up, and we'll see you next time.